I've read over 50 money books, and if you've actually followed most of their advice, you probably feel more stressed, not richer. Everyone has a different strategy. Invest this way, cut this harder, hustle more, save more aggressively. And if you're not careful, you walk away thinking the problem is that you're not doing enough. But here's what surprised me. Under all of the disagreement, almost every serious money book points to the same underlying idea. They just don't say it clearly. And it has almost nothing to do with picking the right investment or finding the perfect strategy. It has to do with how your money is structured and whether your financial life feels predictable or chaotic. In this video, I'm going to break down the one principle that actually shows up again and again across all of these books and why most people miss it, and how to apply it in real life so money stops feeling loud and starts to feel calm. What hit me as I worked through these books wasn't how different they were. It was how often they were talking past the very same idea, just using different language. Take The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. On the surface, it's not a how-to book at all. There are no budgets, no investment formulas, no step-by-step plans, and yet over and over again, the message is the same. People don't fail with money because they lack intelligence. They fail because their financial lives don't align with how humans actually experience risk, stress, and uncertainty. He talks about people with high incomes who feel fragile and people with modest incomes who feel calm. And the difference isn't math. It's whether their financial life gives them room to breathe. Then you read something like The Millionaire Next Door, which feels completely different. It's data heavy. It's observational. It's about quiet wealth. But when you strip it down, the core insight is the same. The people who build real wealth don't optimize for status. They optimize for margin. They live in a way that keeps their expenses low relative to their income so that money has space to compound. Different tone, same foundation. Or if you look at one of my personal favorites, I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. That book is often misunderstood as being about spending freely. But if you actually read it carefully, the entire system is built around automation and predictability. Bills paid automatically, savings invested automatically, guilt-free spending only after the structure is in place. The whole point is to remove daily decision-making so money stops taking up mental space. Again, different language, same ideas. Or take this one. The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. People often think of this book as aggressive or restrictive. It's fundamentally about control and predictability. Baby steps, clear order of operations. No ambiguity about what comes next. For a lot of people, that structure alone is what brings relief. What finally clicked for me is this. Most money books are not actually arguing about goals. They're arguing about tactics. But underneath the tactics, they all assume one thing: that your money needs to feel stable before it can grow. And that's where most people get stuck. Because what most people do instead is chase strategies without building the foundation those strategies require. They read about investing before they have margin. They read about real estate before they have buffers. They read about optimizing taxes before their cash flow is even predictable. So they do what I did early on, which is they keep learning, but nothing ever feels better. This is why so many people can say, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do, I just can't seem to make progress. It's not a knowledge gap, it's a structural gap. Here's the principle that kept showing up whether the author said it directly or not. Money only feels good when it's predictable. Not when your income is high, not when it's super impressive to other people, predictable. Listen, your nervous system does not care how smart your strategy is. It cares whether your financial life feels stable enough to relax inside of it. If your money feels chaotic, fragmented, or constantly at risk, stress stays on, no matter how much you earn or how well you invest. That's why you could read 10 books just like these and do all the right things and still feel behind. Let me give you a concrete example. I've worked with people who were investing consistently, maxing out retirement accounts, and doing everything they were told to do. And yet they still checked their bank balance. They still felt anxious about spending. They still felt like one mistake could unravel everything. On paper, they were ahead, but in real life, their money experience was exhausting. Now compare that to someone with fewer strategies but more structure. Their bills are automated, their spending is contained, their savings happen in the background. They know what's coming in and what's going out. They're not constantly reacting. They feel calm. And that's the difference these books are circling around. Look, I want you to hear this. Most people read money books looking for answers to the question, what should I do? But the better question is, what kind of financial life am I trying to live inside of? Because if the system you're building requires constant attention, constant discipline, and constant willpower, it will eventually fail. Not because you're weak, but because the life is unpredictable. This is where books like Your Money or Your Life quietly get it right. That book isn't about getting rich fast. It's about aligning your spending with what actually matters so that your financial life supports your values instead of draining you. And again, when you read it closely, it's really about reducing friction and increasing clarity. What all of these books are pointing to is not a tactic, it's a design philosophy. The goal is this: design your money so it requires less effort to manage, not more. Design it so progress happens automatically. Design it so spending doesn't trigger guilt. Design it so surprises are absorbed and not catastrophic. When I finally stopped reading money books as instruction manuals and started reading them as clues, everything changed for me. I stopped asking which one of these strategies is right, and I started asking, what do all of these assume are already in place? And the answer I kept coming back to every single time was always the same: margin, containment, and predictability. These are the three things I talk about the most on my channel. This is also why so many people fail when they try to copy someone else's strategy. Look, when they see someone else investing aggressively and they try to do the same thing without realizing that person already has 6 months of expenses saved up, or maybe they see someone buying real estate without seeing the cash reserves behind the scenes. They see someone spending freely without seeing the automated systems underneath it all. So they copy the visible behavior without the invisible structure. And then they wonder why it feels stressful. One of the most dangerous things money books can do is make you feel behind. You read about someone doing more, investing more, earning more, and instead of feeling inspired, you feel pressure. Pressure to catch up, pressure to optimize, pressure to do everything at once. I've been there. Reading all these books, you feel like you have to do it all right now. That pressure is a signal that you're skipping a step. The step that most people skip is building a financial life that feels safe before they even try to make it impressive. And this is where I want to slow the conversation down, because this channel is not about becoming a different person. It's about designing a system that works for the person you already are. If you are someone who gets overwhelmed by constant decisions, you don't need a more complex strategy. You need fewer decisions. If you are someone who feels anxious about spending, you don't need more discipline. You need clearer boundaries. If you are someone who feels like money is always one step ahead of you, you don't need another book. You need predictability. And once that predictability exists, almost every strategy works better. Investing feels easier when your bills are handled. Saving feels automatic when it happens before you see the money. And spending feels lighter when it's already been accounted for. Heck, even ambition feels healthier when your system can't support it. This is why I'm cautious about telling people to read more books without context. Learning without structure just adds noise. Insight without implementation just creates frustration. I can give you a dozen recommendations for books, but it's really not going to help if you don't have structure. The real takeaway from reading dozens of these books is not a checklist, it's a sequence. And this is exactly what it is. First, make money visible. Then, contain it so decisions get easier. Then, automate progress so effort isn't required. Only after you do this sequence do tactics actually matter. If you're watching this video and you're thinking, well, that explains why I've read all these books and none of this sticks, that's not a coincidence. Most people are trying to build on top of chaos and wondering why it always collapses. Look, I'm not here to bash money books or any reading. These books aren't wrong. They're just incomplete unless you read between the lines. And look, and once you do, you realize that wealth is not about doing more things. It's about removing friction until money stops dominating your attention. And that is when progress starts to compound in your life. And look, if you want to see what this actually looks like in practice, the 30-day reset video on this channel walks through how to build visibility, containment, and automation step by step. Not perfectly, not aggressively, but in a way that actually changes how money feels. Because the real promise of money isn't luxury. The real promise of money is silence. And once your system can give you that silence, everything else becomes easier to build.